Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Machines in Medicine, a podcast from Syntegon. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Moody. Today, we're talking about the use of robotics in pharmaceutical manufacturing. These aren't the robots of science fiction, so scrub the images of WALL-E, R2-D2, and the Terminator out of your mind. Robotic solutions in pharma are designed for specific tasks that improve productivity and consistency in manufacturing. They come in many different forms, which we'll discuss today with my guest, Daniel Strum. Daniel is the Global Product Manager for Automation at Syntegon. After studying mechatronics at university, Daniel joined Syntegon 11 years ago, first in development of SCADA, HMI, and PLC software, before receiving his MBA in international management, and then transitioning to product management of automation, which includes robotics, 3 years ago. Welcome, Daniel, and thank you for joining Machines in Medicine.
Thank you, Laura. Great to be here today.
Super. So I always like to start each conversation with some level setting, just making sure our listeners are all on the same page with the topic of the day. So I'd like to start off by asking you to define robotics in your own words.
Oh, you're starting with a very difficult question at the beginning. So I think there is no standard that defines robot or robotics in one sentence or word, because it's a huge diversity in the robots. So this means different sizes, designs, capabilities. And because of this, it's not so easy to have a standard definition what a robot is. But in our case, what we use in our pharma environment, we can say that we have 4-axis, so-called 4-axis robots or 6-axis robots that can be used in our pharma machine equipment.
So as I've started to learn more and more about robotics, I do hear the term 4-axis robot, 6-axis robot being thrown around a lot. What does this actually mean, and why is the number of axes important?
Yeah, and in general, the evolution of the so-called axis starts always with one axis, which is also named as a motion control. So this is a one axis. And then more and more axes are added. And when we talk about 4 axis, you can think about, for instance, 4 legs, with an arm with 2 parts and up to 6 legs. And we have currently a automation company in Germany, where you can build your own robot with your flexible amount of axis or legs.
Wow.
So this is when it is a robot, it's very flexible. So for us, a robot is starting with 4 axes, for instance, or 4 legs.
Just out of curiosity, what is the highest number of axes that you have seen on a robot?
In our environment, it was we used some 7-axis robots. Also, with this new flexible modular approach from this German company, you can, I don't know, a flexible amount add to the robot and build your robot by yourself. So this is very interesting, and you must know that the more axis you have, the more flexible the robot is, and the more tasks a robot can do. So the advantage comes with the more axis a robot has.
That's interesting. The possibilities are endless. So I've been hearing about robotics ever since I was a kid, and I'm not going to say how old I am, but it's been a while. So are there any industries where the use of robotics has already been established and is currently considered the norm?
Definitely. I think we, in our regulated pharma environment, we are very slow with which when we talk about automation and robotics and digitalization. But I think already in the 60s, the automotive industry started to use industrial robots. I mean, in the 60s with General Motors, and then in the in the 17th latest, I would say, large robot systems have been used there in manufacturing across the board. So, but when you look in our pharma lines or pharma machine lines, okay, it's due to the regulation also. Now a push is coming, but till the last years, it was very conservative. And this is also a push we get also due to the new Annex 1 release to use more automation and robotics.
So I can imagine moving robots and automation into the pharma industry has come with some challenges. Can you maybe first explain how long robots have been used in pharma and what issues have come up with this initial adoption?
Yeah, I think how long they are used, I think when we talk about these 4-axis robots, they're used very long, maybe 20 years ago. But the challenge in general for robots in the pharma industry and the clean room classes and also usage in an isolator is always the hygienic design. So the clean room compatibility. You cannot use each robot in a pharma production or in such a high clean room class, because when you imagine some robots are like machines, so they need lubrication, maybe they lose oil, create some particles during production. So when you think about this and our regulatory and the requirement from human medicine, this is the challenge, I would say. And then also some safety topics will also come up, because a robot, when we talk about, for instance, 6-axis robot, they are very big or can be very big, depends on the construction, and they have lots of power, so you have to limit them and bring some safety mechanisms in.
That's really interesting, and I'm particularly interested in the fill finish space, and I know you mentioned Annex 1, talking about barrier systems, and then I'm assuming with robotics we're talking about appropriate technologies. That's what that phrase has been. That's what we've come to understand that phrase to mean. Yeah. So something that maybe, I don't know if our listeners have considered, but I can see barrier systems and robotics going hand in hand when it comes to operator safety, making sure that operators aren't going to be injured with any of the movements of the robots. So it all comes together.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So are there any new challenges that are emerging as robotics in pharma becomes more and more mature?
New challenges, I would say, you named it due to the new Annex 1. It is named on the first page. You should use appropriate technology, robotics and automation, and so on. In my opinion, we should think about clearly where we would like to use a robot and where it makes sense to use a robot, because only to integrate a robot because it's fancy, should be not the way. For sure, it's in comparison to a standard motion system, a robot, like I said, with many axes can do lots of jobs, but and also bring out the operator from the production. But you have to take care also with first air is a big topic with huge robots that they are interrupting the first air and so on over open objects. Yeah, lots of limitations you have also to take care of, also in terms of safety. I named it already.
So I liked how you brought up the topic of first air. As you have been kind of involved in robotics in this pharma setting for a number of years, what have engineers been doing to protect first air when robots are installed in a piece of equipment? Are there different modeling techniques? What should be considered?
I think it's about it's a programming task, more or less, and also it depends on which parts you are mounting on your robot flange at the end. So you can bring also robots in specific positions. It looks not very artistic, I would say, in the end, to have the axis number 5 or what else, the elbow in a very acrobatic position. This looks not very normal, but this is a perfect situation for not disturbing the first air. And I think this is something that the engineer or the programmer should take care of when it comes to the integration of a bigger robot.
So I know we've already touched on Annex 1 a little bit, but maybe going back to that topic, what is the regulatory landscape of robotization of the pharma industry?
Regulatory landscape, I would say, I already named it. It's about the hygienic design of a robot. When you integrate it in the isolators or the resistance of the robot, you need to approve your robot, for instance, with special FDA approved material or covers or what else, testing procedure, do cleaning tests, wiping tests. But this is something that the robot manufacturer has to do. So we are buying robots that are fulfilling these requirements, that we can integrate it in our isolators, for instance. So this must be, we expect from our suppliers, this is not our task. Our task is the integration, first air topics, and safety topics. But regulatory, for sure, we named it several times, Annex 1 is pushing robots. And this is, I think it's very good to think about more automation, bringing out the operator out of the process, more safety for the product and for the operator. Also for repetitive tasks, stupid tasks, I would say it makes very much sense to let them do by robots, such as saddle blade handling or what else.
Yeah, very good. It shines a light on how machine builders need to trust their vendor collaborators as these new robots are being introduced into pharma manufacturing area. So trust and collaboration is important. And then that also spills over into pharmaceutical manufacturers being able to trust their full equipment solution providers as well. So it's nice to hear that we have such good relationships with our colleagues in the robot field. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we've talked about some hurdles, first air, materials being used in robotics, really resistance to adoption. I guess the next question would be, are robotics worth all of the additional effort that goes into producing them for the pharma field and implementing them in production?
It's a good question. Regarding the effort, I would say the effort must be done by the supplier to bring a robot in such a condition that he can be used in our machines. But for sure, what I must say is that our 4-axis robot is a own development of Syntegon, a patented solution. So we build it by ourselves. So the effort is by us. But the effort, especially for software, is becoming more and more less because there's also evolution going on that you can, for instance, you need not specific robot programmers, but you can program a robot directly via the PLC. So the guy that is commissioning the machine or programming the machine can also program the robot. And this is a big milestone. You need not specific robot knowledge and somebody who studied robotics and so on to integrate a robot and to program a robot, but this can do a PLC programmer. And this is a big milestone, I would say.
Yeah, the barrier of entry seems to be lower and lower. It's easier and easier for manufacturers to adopt it, which comes with time, but it seems like we're at that stage right now in the evolution of robotics and pharma. Great.
Yeah.
So what would be the catalyst for a pharma company deciding to invest in robotics? What would make them take the leap into moving towards this new technology?
I think automation and robotics is seen as more and more important. So there are also several studies that show that more and more companies are willing to increase the invest in automation and robotics. So this is very good to hear from me as a product manager for automation that they are willing to invest, and also for sure the Annex 1 is pushing these topics. Everybody is asking also from the customer, what can we do? My colleague Klaus Uhlher always says, everything that can be automated will be automated. And this is currently also the case, and not only in the machine. We are talking always robots in the machine, but when it comes to, for instance, lights out production, dark production, everybody, when I'm at ISB conferences, PDA conferences, is talking about, it comes to the integration of and usage of robots outside of the machine in the clean room for transfer tasks and so on. And this is also something that will come more and more.
I like that. Now, did the coronavirus pandemic play any role in accelerating the rate of adoption of pharmaceutical robots? Because we had to, the number of operators, people being home, they were homesick, people were in quarantine, we had less people to do a lot of work. Did this open the eyes of some pharma manufacturers that, hey, maybe we need to use robotics, robots don't get sick? Did that help speed things along?
I think this is can be, it's also one side, also in several branches, not only the pharmaceutical for the pharmaceutical companies, but also for all other companies.
Yeah,
because,
industry.
like you said, a robot is a worker that is never sick, but it leads also to buy machines that work autonomous. So no gloves, no interaction, no operator. And then also what I said one question ago about this specific tasks outside of the machine in the clean room. To feed a machine, for instance, with packaging material can be done by a robot because when the machine is gloveless, the process is not completely without any humans. So, and I think the coronavirus has also driven the digitalization and the awareness that not to hesitate to use this new technologies, but to adapt them and use them as a benefit, for them.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a little push to get the industry moving in that direction.
Yes.
So, what is the end goal of a fully robotic factory? Are robots really coming for all of our jobs? It's somewhat related. I do a lot of writing in my role, and I know Chat GPT seems to be encroaching in on the written word. I mean, is it really realistic to be worried about automation taking over traditional work?
I think this is, this question, or this ethical question, I would say, comes up. I heard it several times also in conferences. What do you think, also for suppliers of robots, what do you think ethically about your robots? I will lose my job because of this robot. And the answer from them was, in the most cases, no, it is only switching or shifting jobs. So when you integrate a robot or use a robot, you need guys that take care of them. They program it. So it will be a shift. And I don't think that for sure for, I would say, repetitive tasks, very easy tasks, there will be definitely this cheaper workforce with a robot. But I don't think that this is so scary as we think currently.
Okay, well, that gives me a little bit of confidence that there will be jobs for all of us humans in the future.
Yeah, everybody wants to study and nobody wants to do hard work. So we need a robot, and
just those repetitive tasks that that we don't need, that you don't really need that much training for. Yeah. Well, can you describe how our company, Syntegon, is using automation and robotics in our pharma packaging equipment?
Yeah, we are using robots or this 4-axis technology for a very, very long time. And when you think about the evolution from, like I said, the classical motion technology is very long established, and the 4-axis robot, which our patented solution is in, very, very much of our machine portfolio integrated, and this enables a big flexibility. And also in terms of format changes, we need lots of, not very much format parts. So a reduction of format parts is enabled due to the use of robots. Also flexibility in the production process. So, and this is also advantage we see. And because of this, we integrate for sure robots in our machines, and we have it in our new Versinter portfolio for the FFP, these 4-axis robots integrated, which enables the flexibility. And in the micro batch, both technologies are integrated. And here, due to the use of robots, we have this gloveless solution established. Others with normal automation technology, this would not have been possible. So this is a benefit because we have this nice technology meanwhile and can use it very flexible.
Right. Robots are pushing the evolution of, like you said, what's possible in pharma packaging equipment. So that's nice to see that our company and others out there are pursuing gloveless technology. Take the human out of the equation, reduce your contamination risk. So great.
And for sure, not, like I said, not only in the machine, but we are talking also about use cases outside the machine in a clean room. And there's lots of drive in these topics, and we have lots of good discussions to provide the best solution for our customers.
That's such a good point. Not just the machine, but everything surrounding it as well. How can we increase automation to improve efficiency and ultimately make the jobs easier? Oh, that's great. Thank you for answering all my questions today, but I have one final question for you, and it's always the fun time of our podcast. This is time for trivia. So I will throw out a question, highly unlikely that you'll know it. Maybe you do. And if not, then you and our listeners will learn something. I know I learned something when I was looking up trivia to ask today. So my question to you is, what country has the most natural lakes?
Ooh. I would say it's Canada.
Oh my gosh, you are right. Congratulations. That's fantastic. I had no idea when I was searching this, but that's right.
This was not prepared before.
No, you're just that good at lake trivia. Something interesting. Interesting is that Canada actually has more lakes than the rest of the world combined, which I thought that was shocking. I had no idea, but really interesting.
Good.
Yeah. So, do you have a trivia question for me?
I have before we talk, this came during our talk and our conversations in the last time. Do you know how the weather in Minnesota was 2 days ago?
I do. So in Minnesota, so it's springtime here. We experience all 4 seasons in about 48 hours. We had from about 85 degrees Fahrenheit to, and then 2 days later it was snowing. So we really keep people on our toes here in the Midwest, USA. Very good.
Great.
Well, I I always love to end these podcast episodes with some trivia. It's really the cherry on top of fascinating conversation that I get to have. So I'd like to thank our guest today, Daniel Strum. Robotics aren't just the future of pharmaceutical manufacturing. They're just the future of industry, period. And if we're being honest with ourselves, the future is already here. Thanks, as always, to our listeners for learning with us. And I look forward to discovering more with you on the next episode of Machines in Medicine. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.